Never a dull moment with you, Danny. How was your day yesterday?
No, just another day on the street corner as an attention-seeking prostitute, Dan.
If I gave you a mulligan on how to do it, would you have changed yesterday?
I think two things about it. And with clarity in retrospect, I've got a couple of regrets about what happened yesterday. One, I couldn't have done it on that day because then I become the story instead of the Hall of Famers. That part was disappointing, and I don't have anybody to blame but myself on that one. And two, I probably would have done it on ESPN's platforms instead of Deadspin. But, you can't learn those things until after you've done them. So, yeah, I would have liked two mulligans on that one.
But when did you get to the point where you said the system is flawed? This is how I respond to it in an effort to change it or give notice to this flawed system?
Well, here's the thing that's been frustrating for me, Dan, is that for 10 years I've been pounding on the idea that I hate all the moralizing and all the sanctimony about steroids in sports, that many of us, if we had been given a healing elixir that wasn't tested in the workplace, that other people were using, our competition was using and getting better using, and it would allow us to add years to our lives, or the thing that we love, add years to our career, be a fountain of youth, like so many of the people barring the door to the Hall of Fame would have done the thing that is the reason they're barring the door to the Hall of Fame. So I haven't been able to accomplish anything in 10 years. So Barry Bonds is further from getting into the Hall of Fame than he's ever been, and I'm annoyed by it.
Okay, but I looked at the system. Part of the problem is I think you should have railed against these voters, not the Hall of Fame. If you're firing an arrow, it didn't feel like you landed on the target that I thought needed to be shot, and that is but there's too many of these guys. I don't know what their credentials are to vote on the Hall of Fame. We value the Hall of Fame. We don't value the process to name these Hall of Famers, and that's why I think it should be more in line with the Pro Football Hall of Fame than it should be with the Baseball Writers of America.
Well, they're all mad at me today.
I'm sure they are.
But it's because, look, there's some pearl clutching outside of the beautiful museum, right? They're all really mad at me because I've taken a piece of their identity in this thing that they treasure, and I've made some fun of it. And I get that. Like, I don't blame them for being mad at me. But if I were constructing a system, Dan, of the most qualified people in the world to protect this treasure, I would not be one of the people on the committee. I would have someone with better qualifications than me on the committee. We're still doing this the way we did it in 1936. Yeah. The baseball writers are the only ones allowed to do this. Bill James doesn't have to. Get the hell out of it with that. Bill James.
Well, that's why I said I don't know how you got a vote in the first place. Why doesn't Bob Costas have a vote? The people who follow this, and my big issue is we don't celebrate baseball's Hall of Fame. We celebrate the other halls of fame. We don't celebrate baseball. It's always about the negative of who didn't get in, what we're going to do with the steroid guys. We want closure as sports fans. We can't get closure from the steroid era, and I'm not sure how we can process that for Hall of Fame voting and have somebody say, do you think Bagwell did? I don't know. Do you think Piazza did? I don't know. That's really dangerous territory for us as journalists, broadcasters, media members, to be playing judge and jury. I don't envy those writers. I really don't.
But Dan, you just made my point, though. You just said all the things that I'm railing against and saying that I shot the arrow in the wrong direction.
No, you didn't fire at them. The Hall of Fame is what got hit here, in my opinion. It's the writers, and you got these blowhards who they think that they're judge and jury at the gates of baseball's heaven. They should have been vilified, and I think you let them off easier. They feel hurt because you gave away your treasured ballot. They should have been ripped because they have created this flawed process, not the Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame takes what you give them. It's like the food tray you put underneath the jail cell. Here it is. Take it. The baseball writers are the ones who created this.
Okay, but what's happening today? Look at what you just said. Like, I could have done that, or have you do my dirty work for me. That's what people are talking about today. Like, all I wanted here, I know that people think I'm seeking attention here. All I wanted is to stimulate that conversation that you're having right now. You make up your own mind. It doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I did it right. Doesn't mean that I handle things the way that they should have been handled. Make up your own mind. But that conversation's happening today. It might not have been if I hadn't done what I did.
Well, I know, but wait a minute. You don't want credit, but you want credit here.
I don't want want credit. I don't want any credit.
You just said, look, you're saying you're doing my dirty work. You're saying what I said, and we've created a conversation here.
Credit. I want to stimulate a conversation. I don't want credit for it. You don't have to give me any credit for it. I could have done this anonymously and then had people calling me a coward. I didn't put my name on it.
The only thing well, look, I think what you did, I like it. I think it does spur, that we're talking about it, but it still doesn't change the system. I want, somebody says, I don't like this. Well, okay, what are you going to do about it? It's one thing to say, I don't like it. Now, what do we do about it? And that's what I want to hear.
I don't know what's going to happen with the baseball writers. Maybe they get together and climb up higher in their ivory tower and urinate on me from on high to kick me out of their club, which is probably what will happen. But I don't know if maybe they get in there and say, you know what? Maybe we need to tweak some things. And if that's the case, if that happens because of what happened, and I don't want the credit, but if that's what happens, that would be one of the consequences. As it is right now, Dan, as it is right now, my next 20 years of votes trying to get Barry Bonds, the best player I've ever seen in my lifetime, into the Hall of Fame, are less useful than what I did yesterday.
We're talking to Dan Batard of ESPN, the Miami Herald. Okay, why is the system flawed if Barry Bonds doesn't get into the Hall of Fame?
I mean, doesn't that go without saying? We are sitting here and you just got done saying, we have no idea if Biggio or Bagwell or any of these guys did. We don't know if Frank Thomas did. We're doing an eye test in an era when Guillermo Mota, the single skinniest player I've ever seen in the big leagues, has been hit twice for steroid use. We're doing an eye test. Craig Biggio told me late in his career that he was popping 12 pain pills a day, 12 pain pills a day at minimum to keep getting on the field. I don't know whether he used or whether he didn't use. We're sitting here banging and character smearing guys that I can't fix that one. I've been trying for 10 years to fix that one. I understand why the steroid guys in a competition-aholic culture were steroid guys. I think a lot of us would have been steroid guys if right now I give you the ability to, win more Emmys than Costas.
Would I take steroids?
I'm saying if I give you the ability.
I did take steroids. It didn't help me, Dan.
If I gave you something magical to spread on your esophagus and on your larynx in order to be the best in the world, I think a lot of us would have done that. Yes,
and I said, look, these kids who come from a third world country to get out of what they were in, or somebody who sees somebody else, with their position, I get it. And I said, if I was their age, I would certainly look at taking it. Probably would have. If that was the culture then. I get all those things, but you still have to pay the price. I can speed on the highway because everybody else is, but if I get pulled over, I'm the one who has to pay the price here.
All right, but how about we do it this way, Dan, and see if we understand this in human terms. And part of the reason Barry Bonds is getting fewer and fewer of the votes is just because we didn't like him. He was arrogant, and he didn't conceal that he knew that he was great. But let's do it this way. Barry Bonds looks across the field and sees that Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, who are not as good as he is, are saving baseball. They're on the cover of your beloved Sports Illustrated in toga outfits, shirtless, as the SI Sportsman of the Year.
Yep.
Hell yeah, Barry Bonds is going to do the most human thing in the world and say, get the hell out of here. These guys who are as good as me are going to be the saviors for the sport because they're doing something that I'm not. Get me some of that. I'm going to do it too. And I don't blame him.
Okay, but you pay the price. These were artificially inflated numbers that he had.
He knows. Some of the guys pay the price. Some of them, not all of them. If this was 100% absolute, if you could tell me everyone who was doing it, I'd say absolutely, Dan.
But the reason why they pay the price, Danny, is because the Players Association did this. They created doubt. They did this to their own people. They created that. They didn't let us test. Remember, 5% were dirty when we first started. This is on Donald Fear's watch right here, man. And these players who, were on the committees there, they allowed us to have doubt because we had no way to test them in the beginning.
Did Frank Thomas use or not?
I don't know. I don't know any of this. I know Bonds did.
You can assume that, but nobody's proven that.
I will assume that, and you know what? I would be more than willing to take that to the mat, take it to my grave that Barry Bonds used.
Yes, most people would.
Yeah, and don't give me this, he was a Hall of Famer before, because I have to look at your body of work. It's like saying you won five.
Look at the body.
Danny, here's the thing. What if you plagiarized something at the back end of your career? You were great in the first, you won awards, you were the sports writer of the year 5 times, and then you plagiarized at the end of your career. Still on your career, and that's going to overshadow what you did earlier in your career.
You view those things as the same. I don't.
Bonds plagiarized the game.
A lot of guys were plagiarizing.
I agree with you, but you're talking about fighting for. I'm yelling at you. I shouldn't. You're battling for Bonds, and if you want to battle for all of them collectively, that's one thing. You can't battle for Bonds. Bonds was a cheater. Clemens was a cheater. McGuire cheated. Sosa cheated. I can't. Say, oh boy, I'm sympathetic to them. I still have to look at the entire career here. Bonds great, but he cheated.
I am arguing on behalf of all of them, and I'm arguing against that, what you just did right there, like the name calling of cheater, liar, character smearing. I'm objecting to the entire thing because I understand what those guys did. So, I'm objecting. Calling them cheaters, okay, we could do that. That makes us feel good. I get it. Name calling is replete with throughout sports. Hell, it's a hell of a lot easier to criticize than it is to praise. That you saw that yesterday because I and this came the story instead of or as much as celebrating the 3 guys who got in for their greatness. It's much easier to do that, to smear these guys than it is to celebrate them. I understand exactly what it is that they did, and I don't even, we could call them cheaters, but to me, when the cheating is understandable, it becomes jaywalking. It becomes cheating on your taxes, with filing. It becomes a pretty benign crime that is being treated as a much larger crime.
Well, what about Lance Armstrong? Everybody cheated. So
everybody did.
So he should keep those Tour de France titles because everybody cheated?
No, he could get the consequences, but he's still one of the greatest cyclists I've ever. He couldn't have kept up. Quite literally, couldn't have kept up if he hadn't been doing that. That's fine. You can judge him and you can hit him with your score. And I'm just telling you that I understand.
So you put all the steroid guys in. If I said Bonds, Clemens, all the guys under suspicion.
I couldn't. I wanted to. I couldn't.
Okay.
Because there's a maximum of 10 that you can vote in. So. I would have wanted to, and I have in the past, but now we're creating a log jam. Now, in coming years, we're going to more guys that can't get in.
I know. Did you lose your vote officially?
Not yet, but I suspect I will. Nobody's talked to me. I haven't heard from anybody in the Baseball Writers Association.
Well, it's early.
Yeah, but I've heard from everybody else.
Did you get in trouble with the mothership?
In trouble? No, I'm not in trouble, but they would have preferred that I used their platforms instead of the platform that I used, which I don't even agree with that. That probably would have been the better route to go.
No, I think it's even better that you didn't use the platform.
Well, I've been trying to use those platforms, as I said, for 10 years without accomplishing much of anything. I'm sitting here still arguing with you about this. I'm not changing your mind. I'm on your platform now. I'm not going to change your mind about these guys. If you had a Hall of Fame vote, you wouldn't be voting for Barry Bonds.
If you put him in and we have some kind of designation of, it's same thing with Pete Rose. Pete belongs in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. So if we put them in, there's a designation about them that we at least understand. And this is about the history, all right? History of the game, it's a museum. I don't have a problem telling the history, good and bad.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be, but that's not what's happening. We are making it a mythological museum. It's not good and bad. We're only allowing in the good. We are not allowing in the bad. We are judging and castigating the bad and sending the bad off to purgatory, denying them heaven. I'm good with what you're saying there, but that's not what we're doing.
I know. All right. Keep fighting the good fight, all right? Keep your head up.
I will keep losing. I am Dan Quixote, tilting at this windmill, and I see you up there in that windmill, and you're not doing these things as the protector of the windmill. You're one of the gatekeepers. I blame you too, Patrick.
All right. Thank you, Dan.
Hey, brother.
Thank you.